Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry for the extended menu this morning. I'm still learning the trick to self-publishing. I hope everybody is doing well today. Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry for the extended menu this morning. I'm still learning the trick to As you can see, we are back here live at Sanctuary Hills. Hi, Jet, Julie, Seffi, good seeing you guys. As we come on into Sanctuary Hills, you can see I fairly well left off exactly where we were last week. The only thing I did overnight is I did go through and I reduced the size bar using gamma guns. And my lord, I used 70 gamma guns and I only reduced the size bar by just over 2/3, maybe 75%. It was absolutely large build area here that I had no clue was quite this big, but as you can see, things like the lampposts and junk around town, I tried to leave as much of it as I could. Eventually I may choose to get rid of this stuff, but I kind of like how it looks right now, so we'll see how much of it goes. But I'm sure that in the course of normal building here, this stuff is knocked out, which is why the size bar never usually gets touched by most people, I'm going to suspect. As you know, we set up over here. I'm just going to do a brief recap. That's got to go away because those sounds should not be on. There we go. We set up a fishing village over here last week. And just a quick recap of the fishing village will show that, it's just a few shacks. And we've got a dock. We've got a place for them to cook up some of their catch. And an outhouse for them to use down here so they don't have to walk all the way up the hill to get to a bathroom. So today, I want to go and do some finishing over here at the barn and marketplace. My intention is that most of the workshops should be in here, and the various vendors will be out here. I have not used the upstairs yet in any of my plans, so if something lends itself to that. I did throw some hay bales up here. Another item to visually block some of these holes, but also give it more the feel that this is being used to store long-term the stuff that they'll use during the non-growing season, etc. So with all that being said, I think it's time to get started. I did put out a call for some inspiration, and y'all didn't disappoint me at all. You had some very great ideas, and I was happy to see everything suggested. And one of those things is going to be one of the first things I work on here today. And that is getting a spot for the armor workbench. Because that one's got a forge. And putting a burning forge directly on the ground in here would definitely be burning this place down in short order. So we want to put something down to prevent... Those might be just a hair too high. But we want to keep the burning from being on the wood itself. So a little bit of diamond plate works pretty well for that. And thanks to all you beautiful people. I have exactly done that. I believe it was Rob Clark who suggested it through one of his videos, and I want to thank him for doing so. Granny Gamer, Julie, Slacker, Jet, glad to see you all here. It's easier to see when I'm in place. Okay. So that works very well there. I do have all of these workbenches over at the traditional house across from the starting player's home. And I haven't decided if I'm going to keep them there. But right now I'm thinking our best bet, if we are going to build, is to use them in here. And then if I decide that the workshop over there is best used without them, I can delete the ones over there. Now I'm thinking that the weapons workshop, they might need a little... Is it in here? A little protection. That's... And that's not where it is either. I know that I'll think of it as soon as I'm no longer sitting in this game. I'm trying to think of the wire the wire walls and doors. You know, it looks like what in the military we used to call them the cages. They're used for setting out your supply room. You protect your valuables in it in a larger room. your supplies, your personal gear that it would be a storage locker inside a cage, so no one could just go in there and when without somebody else supervising. But I'm trying to think of where in the game those walls are. They look like a steel cage. Oh, while I do that, I can lay out the store here. And because I'm pretty sure NPCs will never walk up what is really not a large step here, I'm going to have to put steps on here. Not that that should be surprising to anyone, because NPCs don't like to walk anywhere. Alright. I'm trying to remove as few shrubs as possible, but the ones that are in the way of walking, or taking up room from walking. Wow. I did not notice that that vine was that well placed. That's a bit of realism I had not anticipated. I like it. I like the accidental things. Okay, our weapons guy is going to be over on this side. Hi, Di. Good to see you. Now, this guy... that gives him enough room to stand behind here. That's not even close to straight. And it'd still go... if I can walk through there, he can walk through there, right? Let's not tempt fate, though, because we all know for a fact that if a settler can get hung up on something, he will get hung up on it. Okay, I have a general store over there. I have 3 bars in town, so I don't need food down here. A clothing store. Perhaps on this side of the armorer. And set back a little ways. Although now we're on the hill. So let's see. I can drop that. And...
yeah, he says no.
and that gives us clothing. We have a clinic already, so we don't need another one of those. Hopefully, the eventual plan is to move all the farming. Hey, Clem, good seeing you. Doug, welcome aboard. The eventual plan is to move all of the actual farming that's being done here to... That wind sounds vaguely Radstorm-ish. Let's sit down and give it a chance to pass. I want the food to be produced over at one of the other farms. Abernathy, Finch Farm, Grey Garden. It's just a storm, but I'm hoping that everybody can see everybody can see the build it okay with the storm. I know that the brightness can sometimes be quite subdued on the YouTube. Oh, thank you, Clem. Okay. Yeah, you get walking by, Mr. Guardman. As I was saying, I want to build up these walls, but I'm not sure which tab the wall is that I want to use. It might be under metal. No. It's definitely not under vault. And we could definitely use some janitorial assistance here. Stand by one moment, please. Sorry about that. You know, I would like a pool too. I'm just not ambitious enough to go looking for where to place it. Okay, those are there. I really wish I was better versed in items I don't use frequently. Sleeping till noon is a good pastime, Slacker. There are days that I get myself out of bed and I wonder why I bothered to. Let me see. I know that the door is in here. The metal mesh door. So where are the metal mesh walls? Because I would rather not... Well, this is a barn. I could use a barn wall and a barn door section with a mesh. But then you can't see in there, and I was hoping to put some visual on there. Let me see if I can find some freeloaders to put into work. Anybody sitting in here? No. Why do I have 31 wood or 31 food here? I think there's too many people. I'm going to try not to look at the ground when I have individuals selected. I do like to have the visual indicator that I'm selecting the correct object that I'm thinking of. However, I do know that that can be very bright on the other end of the screen here, and it really makes the ground glow because of my scrapping mod allowing me to pick large objects. So my apologies for that. I will try not to blind anybody. I do not want Marcy doing anything, but this guy makes a good arms dealer. Eventually, all of the people who think that they're farmers will be assigned to something else. Clem, I am not interested in making Sanctuary less apocalyptic. I really like the rundown look of the place. But thank you for letting me know that there are mods to do that. I could see doing it, but it's not my style. Alright, June, you just keep digging in the dirt, 'cause you're going to be stuck there until you are moved. I think I'm going to send him to a settlement and then Marcy to a different settlement. And then the only people left here from the original 5 will be Mama Murphy and Sturgis. Everybody else here will be just random settlers. Okay, as you can see, we are now producing just 18 food. And we have 19 people. So it didn't go red. And that would be because I have the other feeder farms all networked together. So as long as there's enough food in the system, that will stay green, or in my case, this lovely irritating blue color. So let me show you my current situation. We've got everybody linked together, and there are some of these that start out purely as farms, like Abernathy, Finch, Grey Garden. So I want to keep them as the primary food producers. Ten Pines Bluff obviously starts as a farm, but I want to try and move Sanctuary away from the food production that I started there, because I want them doing scavenging and having fun. Oh, I'm glad that the blue's good for you, Julie, because I like it better. It's less garish than the green. Hello, Simo. Nice to have you join us today. Okay, so we have an armor workshop, a clothing workshop, or a sales, weapons, and They've got their workshops inside the barn. They're two of the slowest walking people I've ever met, but that's beside the point. I want to move on to security on this backside path. I imagine that mostly using turrets is fine. However, gotta turn snapping on just so it's easier to put these down for the moment. The people here in town would be well aware that this path doesn't only lead to Vault 911 or Vault 111, but going that way and that way, there are occasional raider groups up near the power lines and over at, well, I guess it's just a gully over there on the north side of that lake. So, I'm thinking we need to have a protective structure over here stretching from this hedge to that hedge. And in order to start that out, I'm thinking on either side of the path we can have sort of a gatehouse. So if we want to have some security here, let me make sure I'm not getting into the where that stump is, because for those of you who didn't notice, if I remove this stump, look at all the trees that go with it. I would prefer to leave that exactly where it is as a result. It's a slight angle that goes across the path here. I think that angle is about correct. It'll go straight off to just behind that tree next to the hedge over there. Yeah, that's too wide of a hole. People can... Okay, so I need another floor, I think, up above. I want to use this in the way that I'm anticipating. Like that. In this case, let's get into some wood floors. That would look fine there. There. I could see where the blue might not be so good. I might revisit the color and experiment a little bit with available colors dye. On the fly, I chose blue yesterday because I was just so sick of the green. Come on, there we go. And I'm pretty sure you can understand where I'm coming from on the being sick of the green. It's not... I like it on the terminals. It makes the retro feel of the green on the terminal screens really stands out. However, for the Pip-Boy, I really feel it's not quite what I think they should have done. Now, granted, I'm applying my own standard to what I think they should have done, and you know, that's not their standard, so. And I'm sure that other players disagree with me as well, because I am far from the only opinion about how things should look. And that's one of the reasons I like asking you guys a lot of questions about what you think of things. Because now, let me see if I did this correctly. Because I think if I do that, yeah, it's the right distance apart. But it's going to be way too high to have it be an effective gate. But that can be worked with as well. Oh, come on, I saw it snap once on the spot, but I wanted it. This is not... Oh, let's see. Nope. Not doing what I want, and I'm not going to keep monkeying with this right now. Because I need to build up a wall. I'm thinking from here forward is going to be junk wall. From here to the hedge, and then between here and the hedge. So let's move these out of our way. Because just like in the real world, standing a panel of fencing up on the means that just snaps right to the or stands right up where the wherever you put it. For those of you who may have heard the clattering of little paws, that's my dog sneaking into the room while the door was open for a second. I apologize if she gets mouthy. Black and white is a option that I hadn't considered when I was choosing colors. I was worried that white might be just as garish as the green was turning out to be. But I will take a look at... I'll do some adjusting and then do a test video to see if the playback works. Because the important thing isn't just... I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of the importance in it is my being comfortable with its settings on my end, but it's also on the very important that you guys are getting a image that's not overwhelming you. Because what good is it if I've got something I'm comfortable with and it's not visible to you guys? Or viewable to you guys. It's obviously visible. And it is getting to be nighttime, so I am going to sleep. Just jump in bed there, Kate. I could probably have used another hour of sleep. I'll sit out another hour to get some good daylight. Okay, so that looks about even on this side. Seems even on this side. Help if I had the workshop mode enabled. That's the chunky guy. I don't really need the chunk. Is there a narrower piece? That's a gate. Those are narrower, but wow, they're tall. I guess I'm sinking into the hedgerow. We will turn that off. I don't mind sinking into the hedgerow. It makes the hedge can certainly grow around it. If we had cut down the hedge a little bit and but left the hedge itself there, it would grow back around it, I assume. That's not quite... Plywood should be on the outside, but the post should be completely connected. Hardly tell where the post is coming through. Let me see if I can just adjust that a little bit. And I can completely mess up a little bit as fine control seems to be completely missing from my thumb today. Let's try this again. looks a little bit better. The posts are lined up. It does look like they could have built it that way. That's the important part to me. And it does not come through the far side of the hedge. Also important. Now, realistically, they're going to have to block this off. I will prefer to use something like this. Height somewhere between the height of the posts on either side of it. Fairly convincing half-hearted job of repairing that fence. Now we just need a piece of fencing on this side. Or a wall, I should say, on this side. See how terrible we are at lining things up from behind. Okay. That wasn't terrible. A little bit of... I may be able to block that off just by using a stack of tires. And as we know, there is a stack of tires right here in Sanctuary. I've never counted them, but I suspect there's more tires in the debris than there are vehicles left behind. It would help if I... Oh. Wait. If I was on the ground with the first one. It just seems like there's a lot more tires laying around on the ground than there are vehicles. And that doesn't mean that there weren't other vehicles that got stripped away, but... Oh joy. Can't stack them in build mode, I bet. That's okay, because they will definitely stack outside of build mode. And they'll be a little more haphazard as well. So everybody has their own view of what the post-apocalypse looks like, or would look like. But I'm definitely interested in knowing from others. I mean, obviously, Clem was interested in a cleaner build, somewhat of a return to pre-war. Not necessarily super clean pre-war standards, but something similar to a pre-war is what I was taking from the suggestion earlier. What does everybody think about that? Do you think that our sole survivor would be interested in getting somewhere close to the standard they lived at, he or she lived at before the war? Or do you think that they would recognize the foibles of society before the war were heavily part of the cause of the war itself? Because I think somewhere between the aesthetic that they found, you know, the raiders, the cobbled together everything, nobody wanting to truly run a government, and what was going on before the war as far as standards of living and technology were concerned, I think that somewhere in between those two is where our hero would want to be. I can't imagine that they would be so naive to believe that they could return to a pre-war state without inviting the same human greed that caused the pre-war tensions. But I can't imagine they would be willing to settle for the amount of squalor present when they come out of Vault 111. And you can just tell from the building that they do. When you rescue the Concorde 5, they want you to build beds inside buildings. They want you to plant food so that there's a steady supply of food for them. They want you to set up defenses so nobody will come and take their stuff. I definitely believe that that's all geared towards what they want, but also what you want. You want to make things more normal. You want things to be more like they were. But I don't think that, well, at least my character isn't so naive as to believe that going back is even feasible, let alone desirable. And if any of you have read my, oh, that was a great waste of time I did there. Well, at least we know. I'm not going to redo that on stream, but you'll know what I'm going to be doing with it
I don't mind hooking
in
it
my
as long
off
as there's
time.
some excitement at the end of the road.
I'm glad that's how you feel, Kate. I wish you were doing some job somewhere else right now. I think that there's a good reason for wanting to improve the quality of life that the sole survivor comes to. But I also think that there's plenty of indicators, in my own opinion, that they would be wise enough to know that that wouldn't lead to a society of the type that they had before the war. I mean, I could be totally off base, and yeah, society would be able to be recovered, but I don't think so. I think it would be hubris to believe we could. And since, at the very least, hubris leads to massive problems. Yeah, now I can't jump. That bring on the war. It makes sense that we would hopefully not repeat those mistakes. Russ, good to see you, Easy. Russ, I did go over the list you sent me. That's a really long list. But some of them actually look really good, and I may be incorporating them into my future gaming. So I appreciate it, buddy. Is it just that one that won't... I'm suspecting they won't snap because the doors are here. Erica, how are you today? Hope the day is finding you well. Now, naturally, I wanted those to snap so that they can be walked on. Not that I want anybody who's coming up from here, because that's just going to be raiders, to walk up them, but I did want them to feel usable, and I'm thinking that the clipping of these doors through them is going to annoy me. Oh yeah. So let's see if I can lower those just a little bit. Realistically, people should still be able to use them, even if NPCs now won't. Yeah, now they're below the level. Excellent. Which mod are you working on now, Russ? Oh, you think the ramps would look better, Di? I'll take a look at that. Let me, open these. Ramps are in scaffolding, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, they're not going to snap onto a regular wood foundation, but looks like I've got that lined up fairly well. It does go across the gap a little bit better. I do believe I like that better. Thank you very much. That's one of the things I like about this community. Somebody has a good idea, they share it. As we all know, making everybody else a better builder makes us all happier. Well, I think I'm going to move this one and then put this one in next to it. Oops. Hope if I wasn't still selecting. And that one. Now that one gets centered on that one there. And it's really only two different types, so at least the two that are like each other are not adjacent. Ah, I really do like that better. Thank you very much, Di. Mikey, good to see you. Russ, anything that keeps settlers from taking my stuff is a plus. Holy cow. Let me just show you real quick. I separate my things so that it's easier to find them. And I had to go on a scavenger hunt to collect legendary items because I noticed a legendary in the workshop that shouldn't have been there. And I saw one of my settlers walking around with a missile launcher that I didn't give him during an attack on the settlement. Well, the settlers were helping themselves to weapons, and after I dropped a 3-barrel missile launcher in there. It was an upgrade for his legendary weapon, so he just swapped it out. Oh, that was so frustrating. Now, at least, if I really want to keep something separate from Settlers, it's not as tough as it could be here at Sanctuary, because you have that, the root cellar bunker. But, oh. Okay, so up here, I'm going to need to, well, outside actually, I'm going to need to put some turret stands to hold our turrets up. I'm thinking, always a dangerous thing for me to do, I know. It's in here. There they are. I'll tell you, when they gave us these pieces in USO in the PS4, I loved them. It was great to have the turret stands available, but it was also a pain in the neck because they won't normally place on walls like you would expect them to. Instead, you have to place them in the ground and group select them and move them to where you want them. That is one of the great things about Place Anywhere, or in this case, Place Everywhere, in the PC, that I will never take for granted. Having such control over items that should have, let me make sure a surface snap is on, it should have been a given. That, oh yeah, this is how they work. But for some reason, I could only ever place them on the ground, and how it should have worked was not how it worked. Now, maybe I'm just terrible and was doing something completely wrong. Russ, I'm not terribly savvy with the mods. Is the workshop extender, workshop framework, separate from the script extender? Do I need to have both for? Well, I know I need script extender for some of the mods I already have. So, but it's a separate thing. Okay, let me see what kind of skullduggery I can come up with now. Oh, you want to... No, I don't want you to snap to that. Wow, is that high? That's ridiculous high. Oh, that staircase is not going to like that at all. So let's do something a little different on that side. The staircase already doesn't like where it's attached to the floor. And so sorry, staircase, but that's the way it goes. I bet it doesn't like that turret. Wow, I did not see that being a problem. Wow, that doesn't reach all the way down, does it? Oh, it looks like it does. Or it's not terribly obvious it doesn't, anyway. That is a lot of things it does. Russ? I'm not sure how much of that I absolutely need, but I will definitely look into it, because I definitely use a lot of mods. As I recall, that's not going to work. I could have sworn there was 3 axes of motion on that. let's see. Obot happiness. Eliminate the penalty if you like. Make robots not count against your max population. And more. That's definitely something I'd like. You notice a big difference in time. I will check it out, Russ. I appreciate your input on things like that because you obviously know more about it than I do. Not sure how I'm going to cover the walkway up here, but I'll figure it out. But that robot happiness, definitely something I want to take a look at. Because the robots really shouldn't count as settlers if they don't use resources. And they haven't been using resources in my build, so why are they counted as resource hogs? At all. Oh, I have to turn snap off again. There we go. Now, I don't think that robots should be counted as settlers, and I do like using robots, especially because as provisioners, they're no. Speaking of robots, I got rid of Jezebel. I made her the provisioner for Grey Garden to the drive-in. She just annoyed the crap out of me on a constant basis. Way too constant of a basis for me to... She always wanted to talk to me, and she always wanted to tell me that she didn't want to talk to me. And when I was having her as bartender, she wouldn't sell me anything. So if she's not selling me anything as a vendor, and she's always trying to talk to me to tell me that she doesn't want to talk to me, she can go talk her crap on the road to her pack animal. Russ, I would really like you to do a mod overview video if you have the time, because you have a lot more knowledge about this stuff than I could even pretend to in a million years. And reading the information is one thing, but I know I'll learn it a little bit better. And I suspect that it's possible other people will as well, if we had a point of reference to fall back against, if you know what I'm saying. Somebody who can explain it while it's being shown to us is, in my case, works better than reading it and then trying to figure it out. Yeah, I don't think I was born stupid, but I make stupid mistakes. Like redoing the same thing I said didn't work over on this side. Gosh. But in this case, to avoid too much symmetry, I'm going to do it that way. I have to put something up here to act as a rail. Let's see if railings will. They will. For those of you who are wondering, no, I will not be putting a guard post on this side. I'm just going to let the turrets do the job over here, but I wanted this to have the look of a guard station. If that makes sense to y'all. A little bit of siding hides a million flaws. And it's late night again. Getting dark. I'm sure Kate will end up joining me, or some other settler will end up joining me, because obviously somebody sleeping in a single bed doesn't mean they can't.
I never knew you could do that with meat fruit.
Alright, let's take a look at this in the light. From down the hill a bit. Okay, that's definitely what I was hoping for. It's an imposing structure. It's holding the turrets, and it's not right up on the building anymore. You know, I was thinking about the solar panel mods, and it struck me that, yeah, you can't even hear the turrets until you're over here. It struck me that there would be no solar panels in the world of Fallout. They're still using vacuum tubes. Although there was some minor experimentation
really together, huh? I can't take all the credit.
prior to the integrated circuit and the transistor, there really wasn't much at all that was commercially viable, while vacuum tubes were still the primary electronic device. So I think it's yeah, I like the lack of symmetry. I think it's something that's worth exploring, but I also think there wouldn't be as much available if I'm... That's not where I want to be. I want to be in containers. Something like a solar panel just wouldn't... It's not that it wouldn't exist, but it wouldn't be readily available for most people. It would be a very rare item. But there's a lot of things that are slight contradictions, like the Pip-Boy. I don't see how it could exist without transistors and integrated circuits. But they never mention integrated circuits or transistors in any of the, at least none of the lore that I've seen. I could be completely mistaken. Yeah, I've actually seen the solar power mods, or at least some of them, used by other builders. The first time I saw it was on a build by I think it's Ranger Dave, or the yeah, he changed his channel name to Ranger Dave. They work really well for the builds that he used them in. Lore-wise, I just don't see how they came about without having the integration of electronics the way we had it in the late 50s here in the United States and Japan, because it's a very different world that they live in. But Todd said so. It has to work. Yeah, I hear you there. Todd does say a lot of things like that. I feel like that might not appear supported enough. So let me if I put that there and there. That seems more supported to me. Or maybe they should have a snap point just a little bit further. That's too far in the middle of the walkway. So we are at the 1.5 hour mark, and I'm going to take a short break. I hope everybody has the opportunity to grab a snack, refill your drinks, and stretch your legs. I will be back in 5 minutes or less. In the meantime, let me put myself into a background where everybody can...
The Raiders thought we were easy pickings, but we showed them different.
I'm glad you showed them different. There we go. If I'm not mistaken, that's when the spinning starts, you'll be able to see both the workplace that we built up front and the work we've been doing on the trail down to Vault 111. Like I said, gonna take about a 5-minute break. Go ahead and refill and recharge, and I'll see you all in about 5. And I am back. I hope everybody is got your drinks squared away, got your snacks all lined up, and let's get back to work. I definitely think that the idea of a community where the first thing you get to is resources that the outsiders coming in could use is a good idea. And I'm willing to take... Oh, thank you, Barbarian King. Sorry I missed Erica leaving. Hope she's having a great day. Thank you, Di. Slacker. I'm willing to take some suggestions from you guys on this leg of the journey. Do you think that a secondary wall, maybe a smaller wall, or a shorter wall, something you can see over, but something blocking from, say, this guard station to the corner of that house, would be something that makes sense to you guys? I'm turning that one over in my head, so if you guys want to put your input, it would definitely make the community area separate from the visitor area. So that's what I keep going back and forth in my opinion on it, thinking that they would not have a secondary line right there, but it keeps coming up as an idea for me to do.
Next person that asks me to shag is getting a well-placed kick, if you get my meaning.
Okay, Kate, you've got a very special talent for speaking without being anywhere in the vicinity. That's creepy. Groucho, good to see you, sir. Okay, this is kind of barren looking, so let's get started by sprucing this up a little bit. So, this gentleman would definitely have need for lots of fine tools, whereas our friend over here probably only needs a handful of tools. Let's put it on this side. We know that our both our armor and our clothing merchant will need storage. I don't think they're going to need a gilded bookcase. Something not broken would be nice, though. Or not completely broken. Taking a hint from Diamond City, we'll block the hole in a wall with a bookcase. That's a lot bigger than it looks in the menu, isn't it? Plenty of storage space. Not mistaken. That's a pistol rack. Our gun guy would have plenty of storage as well. Ranger Dave's Wasteland Walls. I will... Oh, don't... I'm not doing OC Decorator. I've looked at it. It's resource heavy, and although my gaming computer is decent, it's not great. I would not want to put that much pressure on my system. I feel like he would also have a table. To work at separately. Now, few hand tools never hurt anybody, right? No, that's not the right one. That's the one I want. Look. And you should still be able to select that toolbox, so it's still a storage item. Excellent. Probably put some kind of door on here. And a somewhat nicer door on the front. Facing the, Actually, that rusty metal door might look better on the back. Because they would still want their things secure. There. As secure as can be. Yeah, Russ, there's a few mods that I've taken a look at that I would really like. OC Decorator is one of them, but I have to take into consideration the limitations of my machine, and yeah, I still greatly appreciate all of the recommendations because, trust me, there's a few you've mentioned in that list that you sent me that I never would have considered had it not been for your list. So I appreciate it greatly. But it's my machine is what it is. I'm not gonna, try and make it do something it can't, because that's just gonna frustrate me. Do the warehouse floors snap to these stairs? No, they do not. So I need to use warehouse stairs. Okay. Clint, good to see you. Thank you, Clint. Yeah, I think I do need to make this a little bit larger. So let's start by removing these two. How terrible does that look? Wow, I could almost see building using that tree as a support. I only need to... Let's do it this way. 'Cause you gotta have a place to clean the fish that you're bringing in, right? And a place to... hang them. There we go. Oh. Some buckets. What? Isn't there a single bucket? There it is. It did line up right, Clint, and you know the I couldn't have lined that up twice if I had tried. Okay, I feel like the boat needs tackle box. And maybe some... Let's turn off... No, not object. Surface. Go underneath here. And while I'm in containers, I forgot to give any kind of file box to our gunsmith. And I definitely think he should have something. Not just for paperwork, because I doubt that the state is coming to check his papers, but small parts and such definitely need a place to be stored. Okay. This feels a lot more like it belongs here now. I don't know if any of you are familiar with USO or with the general building items. However, what I'm trying to find is a hanging chain or rope that I can use in the second floor of the barn. I may knock this wall out and put a door in its place and put a object out for it to hang from. I want it to look like a working barn. So obviously they would need something to hoist heavier things upstairs. And I was unable to find anything in my menus. Was your regular armor. RP took me... are you saying what is the armor I'm wearing? Because that's just regular shadowed combat armor, and I had the decal put on it from UCO, the Silver Shroud decal. But other than that, it's just shadowed combat armor, and the undersuit that I'm wearing is a synth uniform that I used UCO to dye black. The Warehouse Extended mod has a chain. Well, that is definitely something I will take a hard look at, Russ, because I really feel like a working barn would have a means of lifting things up to the second floor. External is what I'm used to, but I have seen things inside in the past. And it would really feel like more of a working place. You know what I'm talking about. Try and get this to look more like a successful settlement. A lot of this stuff is gonna move anyway, but for right now, this is something that really annoys me is these two objects. I can put them anywhere I want, but I can't move them. Really thought that that would not be the case. Oh, I was in an artillery division, Russ. I was, well, my last 7 years were artillery. I was 110 Field Artillery. I was mostly admin prior. I started off in an engineer division as a admin assistant, and then I moved on to executive admin assistant, and then I went to the NCO Academy as a instructor. I stayed there for 5 years, which of course was MOS immaterial because it was an instructor position. And because I was an admin qualified person, they made me their pubs NCO, so I was in charge of all the school publications and maps, that sort of thing. Anything you could check out of the pubs room, that was my responsibility. Then I had a break in service, and when I returned, I became a radar repairer. And as a radar repairer, I fixed artillery and air defense artillery radar, as well as ground-based sensors and a specialty type of radar called a PIPSI, which is man-portable for tracking targets as small as a individual moving in a given area. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, King. I know how frustrating it is to lose all those files, but on the bright side, it gives you a blank palette to work from. Alright. It is getting dark, and I normally would exit right now and sleep, but I want to try something. And being dark is a good time to do it. This light in particular struck me as a good one to use to relight these street lights, because I don't like the candy cane hooked street lights as much. Oh, Russ, there's a I'm not sure which tab it's in the build menu, but there is a crane in my build menu already. The same one as they use on the fishing boats is available. But I may have placed that too high. And I'm not going to be able to get that lamp out of there. But now I'm going to wait until it's even darker
Axe just a grind. Hell, I have
to take
ton
a
of
look
them.
at how much light we got. Not a moon in the sky, and the area looks bright as heck. I don't think that light is too overpowering. I think that's a good amount of light for a rebuild street light. Yeah, I actually like that quite a bit. It's lit right here, but not far away from it. Let's see if June walks under it and see how well he's lit. I like that. Oh. I have a theory, and I'm not sure how well it'll work. Almost none of the settlers are using this bar anymore since I built the other two. But I think it's entirely possible it's because all of their workstations are down at the... from here and down the other way. So I'm going to, once I remove all the farming from this area, I'm going to put some scavenging stations around this other end. Let me go to sleep and we'll work in the daylight. I think that light did turn out far better. Oh, just choose any old bed. I don't think I've ever seen that big black box on the screen.
Should be a fine day for a walk.
I'm thinking if
The sun should be up soon. It'll be nice to have the daylight back.
most of the workstations are in this area, they'll be more likely to use this bar. But the people whose workstations are down the other end will be more likely to use the other bar. I don't know if that's true. If anybody does know. Yeah, Barbarian, I thought that's what I had read already. So I'm hoping that the only thing is most of the jobs I'll be able to give them if I remove all the farming is scavenging, and they wander a lot during scavenging, so I don't know if they would consider this their job location. Nothing would prevent me from replanting some crops up here just to keep somebody working up here, though, so just so y'all know, I'm still not sure what I want to build here. I want this to be the bridge between the waterfront part of the community and the rest of the community. So I'm thinking some kind of public building, something that they would go to if they needed to, not necessarily a bar or a restaurant, but more like a town meeting place or even a town government type situation right here. But for now, I am going to start building a place for our guard in the tower here. Because although she will never leave this tower, because of the way that they do guard, realistically she should have some place where she can live. So I'm thinking I'm going to put her place right here on the edge of this platform. She doesn't need anything real fancy. Oh, that's not going to work the way I thought it might. Yeah. I wanted to use that, but let me, use one of these. Something a little solid. Why won't that... Why won't that snap? That one will. It wants to sync and not snap. No, I can't have that because I need to have it snap to other pieces. She just needs a little place of her own. Oh. Okay, what's the matter here? That's better. I feel like... I'm making a mistake. Now then. Just something to set up. A little place for her to sleep and relax at the end of her shift. That's definitely a rad storm.
Can't wait to get out of this goddamn heat.
Nothing fancy and impossible without mods. I'm intrigued, Groucho. Oh. No, I'm doing it. Let the guard have something that looks a little bit nicer than just some ragged cot. It's not like she's ever going to actually use it. Is that the one that looks beat up, or is it? That's fancy. There's something that looks beat up. I'm sure you build some very intriguing structures, Groucho. You may forget this, but I've had the privilege of hearing your endless tirades of puns. Knowing that you see things in a different view definitely makes things intriguing. Okay, if it's a... I think dressers are all in the cabinets and containers. Yeah, if anybody's had the privilege of spending an hour inside the mind of Groucho, they definitely know something from that perspective is going to be a build worth looking at. What is my closest power source? Will it... It will not connect to that. Is it because of the blockage? Doesn't look like it was too far, so it must have been the getting too close to the roof. Excellent. Beautiful may be a subjective term, but it's definitely a swift mind. Which definitely means that a lot of thoughts can come out in a short amount of time. And I think that's one of the keys to building, is being able to see what it is you're trying to get to. I'm definitely interested in seeing whatever it is. Groucho just looked at something and said, I have an idea. Okay, that's not what I thought it was. That's custom couches. I don't want custom. I have none of the little sofas left from here, so I have to build one. But I definitely like these little tiny ones. There, our little forced laborer has herself a little home to retreat to when she's not on duty, which is never. But at least she has a place to live. Yeah, I actually had to turn off notifications on my phone for Discord because Groucho's face would pop up quite frequently when I was doing other things. And needless to say, it is not easy to see information that is hidden behind Groucho's mustache. Okay. That one's seated a little bit better in height. Here, let me look directly at the sun. That should make everybody enjoy the viewing experience just a little bit more. Sorry about that, guys. I may not always be the brightest bulb on the tree. Who am I kidding? I'm almost never the brightest bulb on the tree. You know, I could sit here and watch chat for the rest of this stream, but I don't think that it would bring the same level of interest. Although I would definitely enjoy sitting and watching chat for the rest of the stream. Well, how did you go 3 weeks in building streams and not get anything done? Well, Groucho was talking, and one thing left to the next. Yeah, Groucho, I was the other night. I was in with my my other character, and I thought those lights would work really well with it. And I wanted to try it out with this character because I'm not actually building in Sanctuary with my other character yet. So, because I like these light poles better than the ones with the hook on them, the hook-shaped ones like they have at Starlight. I just don't... Those, to me, those look worse than these. You know, they don't look as streamlined or as Art Deco. But I'm also thinking it's quite possible if I get up to the same height as the light, it might be easier placing them. Because then I can see when the light fixture disappears through the shroud. Of course, at this point, being a... that looks like the save right after the storm. At this point, the cautious person in me says, go ahead and save that before you do this, because I've already proven to myself it's difficult to take the lights back out of the street lamps. But from the top, I should be able to get them centered well. That definitely looks like it's centered. Now we'll watch fun with joystick controls. I do think that other than the joystick controls being a little finicky, I think that looks better. And I don't need to do that one yet because I haven't powered this end of town yet. Let's store that. Well, I have been broadcasting for 2.5 hours, so I'm going to briefly go over the things that we did today in reverse order so that I don't miss anything. You know, I'm the kind of person who, as I say something, I'll remember the previous item, so putting these lights in actually makes these street lights a little usable. We did check them out in the dark. This guard shack gives our stalwart protector up in the guard tower a place to go to in her off hours. The probably half of the build time was spent in laying out a wall down here at the trail to Vault 111. Which, thanks to some excellent input from Dai, instead of using stairs down below, I used rails. Let me turn off the build modes, 'cause everything doesn't highlight. I can use doors, too. I used the ramps instead of stairs, and it does turn out much more attractive, in my opinion. The one exercise in futility that I worked on for a while on stream was stacking tires over here, which I will stack them over here. I'm just not going to waste your time to plug that gap, because I really like the way that looks. I haven't experimented yet, but if those tires will allow me to put them down around a post, they will be probably stacked better on a post. We laid out these shops over here so that we could have more commerce here in town. As you know, last week we put up the Emporium for our Vault-Tec rep. He's right here outside the fishing village as a general goods trader. I figured he would be comfortable on that side of the street, and he's probably selling fishing supplies as well as maybe some food items, things for the traveler on the last stop out of town. You got your weapons dealer and your armors dealer, and a clothing dealer here, distributor here. We laid out the interior of the barn, giving some shelf storage space for the various shops. We got a workbench put in for the armorer, and thanks to Rob Clark, we have a floor that's not going to burn by using the forge. We set up a spot for our weapons merchant to build on his rifles and pistols. He's got some tools to deal with that. And we did lay out a few odds and ends in the upstairs of the barn to make it feel just that little bit more like it's in use. I'm hoping that the near future will present me with the opportunity to make the barn feel a little bit more fully in use. There is one blank canvas left in town. That's the foundation that I think should be some kind of public building. And then there's just a matter of finishing the interiors of each of the sanctuary homes. So my goal is to finish this community next week. During the week in between, I may store a bunch of furnishings from these various houses. As you can see, I've really not gotten rid of any of the junk that's inside any of the houses, other than I did an initial run through and stored all the dressers and scrapped all the wooden beds that I came across. I do want to do something with these houses to make people have homes of one sort or another. That's the yellow house with the power armor workstation is going to be Sturgis's house, so he's going to have that fixed up. Unfortunately, Mama Murphy does an awful lot of hammering on that house, so I might make this a combination of Mama Murphy's and Sturgis to give her an excuse for pounding on it all day, other than she really hates Sturgis. Uh,
Walk 100 miles if I knew there was a pile of caps waiting for me at the end.
I've decided that most of the farming that's done here will not
You'd go
stay.
faster if you kept your eyes on the road and off me arse.
Although I will experiment during
I
the
always
week
have time for me buddies.
to see if the people who work in town, if I use scavenging stations in the area of this restaurant up here, if they'll use it more. If they don't, I may move some of the crops over here before I remove the majority of the crops, just so that at the end of the workday we get a little bit more distribution of the people, because so far, visually this doesn't make sense. What is buzzing? Is it... Ah! I never noticed the fluorescent lights buzz before.
It's getting late.
It's little things like that
Shelter.
that tickle me about this game. This is currently just a utility area, but this too may become a blank canvas for building of maybe just a consolidated area for these generators to be a little bit more secure. And Bessie down here is going to have to eventually have at least a place where it looks like she can bed down for the night, because in the real world, cattle require bedding. I thank you for coming by today. For those of you who stayed for the 2.5 hours that I've been gnawing on your ears, I greatly appreciate your presence. Everybody needs to take care of themselves, take care of your families, and make sure that
All this
you're
walking's wearing me
staying
out.
safe and healthy. And I will hopefully see all of your smiling faces again next week. Until then, take care, and I know I will see you in other endeavors between now and then.